And you see over on the right, Luke Fenney, blue-red control. And remember that, yeah, about him, one of the great things, his mannerisms with the deck, just very methodical of a player. On the left, Jonathan Sukenik, mono black zombies. Mentioned that 8-0 finish on the first day. This is the format he wants to be. He ended up 5-3 in Modern, so he's actually 6-1 with this Zombies deck. As we are underway, Luke Fenney winning the die roll.
That's going to be one of the better records for zombie players in this tournament. I know a lot of the people that picked up zombies did not do particularly well with it.
First try from Jonathan is going to be a metallic mimic. Luke will let that resolve. It will name Zombie. And here's Magma Spray for the mimic.
Actually, a little bit of a win for Sukenik.
Yeah, this is a card that could die to any kill spell. Some of his cards need Magma Spray.
Right. It's also something that doesn't exist as a zombie in the graveyard for Diagraph Colossus.
Yeah, I mean, you look at other cards in the deck. Dread Wanderer, Wandering, Relentless Dead. They're both in his hand. You see he casts the Dead. These are cards that are much more vulnerable to Magma Spray. As it turns out, it's going to be Disallow on the Relentless Dead. You see Jonathan replacing a cracked sleeve here. And now that Luke's out of mana, that will give him an opportunity to land a Dread Wanderer into play.
And that would have been a juicy target for that Magma Spray.
Yeah, some good. I like that Sukenik used the Metallic Mimic to check for Magma Spray here. A small win for him. Now in this matchup, Jonathan's going to need a lot of these small wins to add up.
Yeah.
Dread Wanderer swings for 2.
At this stage, you have to be concerned about Fenney untapping and casting Sweltering Suns. So that's something you want to manage around.
Land from Sukenik. Looks like it's going to be Dark Salvation for 1.
Dark Salvation, a card that's not of a particularly high value in a matchup like this. So just going for the when you can make a zombie, just get ahead on the table, that makes sense.
And then a Dread Wanderer to follow up with. Now, Dark Salvation is target player puts, so it would be 1 black zombie into play, and then up to 1 creature gets -1/-1. So because of that up to 1 clause, Jonathan can just use this like he did to make a 2/2 for 3 mana. And here's going to be that sweeper check you're talking about. It was suspicious that Luke let all those spells resolve last turn, but he extends a hand showing he doesn't actually have the sweeper. So now...
And the end-step Harness Lightning definitely suggested that he'd at least be able to untap with these Dread Wanderers.
And a swing, and then a post-combat Liliana's Mastery from Jonathan. That'll get hit by Disallow. Now, with that pump effect, why would he be doing it post-combat?
He wants to see if Fenney goes for some removal spells in combat instead of just taking 4. There's also the possibility, if Fenney activates Wandering Fumarole as a blocker, getting away a Dread Wanderer, that would turn him off counter mana for the Mastery. If you cast it main phase, it's a very obvious spell to just counter.
Glimmer of Genius main phase from the blue-red player. He'll put both to the bottom and draw 2. With Luke at 14, he's got some life points to work with. However, the Dread Wanderers are recursive threats. Sukenik picks up a copy of Crypt Breaker. He'll make that. See if Fenney will respond. This would be the 3rd zombie. So he'll counter with Essence Scatter. And Jonathan swings with both Wanderers. Now the last card in Jonathan's hand is a copy of Fatal Push.
That one's not going to do too much. So there is the Wandering Fumarole on the other side of the table.
Yeah, hide under that mountain. We do have a possibility of a creature land.
Then with just the 1 card in the hand, if those Dread Wanderers ever do go to the graveyard, Sukenik will be able to bring them back.
Swing with 2 more Wanderers. This would put Luke to 6. Here's Torrential Gearhulk. Flashing back. Looks like Glimmer of Genius. Both
that
to the bottom.
Is hard to resist.
Yeah. Drawing 2, picking up another Disallow.
You know, the ideal situation would be Flashback Glimmer, draw a Magma Spray. He is passing on Magma Spray to do this, though it's not especially important to Magma Spray Dread Wanderer. You know, he has this 5/6 creature here. He has the Wandering Fumarole as a 2nd blocker.
Yeah, there was a discussion, I guess, a choice he had to make on getting back Glimmer versus Magma Spray with that Gearhulk.
And he's light on cards in hand. The Glimmer is just higher value. A little bit of risk to it, but the zombie deck is not one that really has any reach to it.
Sweltering Suns from Luke Fenney. That'll take care of both Dread Wanderers.
For now.
Yeah, for a turn. Plays a land. And looks like can attack for 5. Get some damage onto Sukenik. And Crypt Breaker from Jonathan. Means he only gets to bring back one of his 2 Dread Wanderers as he passes the turn.
Yeah, I'd really prefer that Fatal Push he has in hand to be a swamp.
Yeah. And Luke will end step, cast another Glimmer. And this is the most dangerous one. Both cards scryed to the top, including a Magma Spray that Luke will draw. Magma Spray, Disallow, Essence Scatter, now all in Luke's hand. This might just be enough to clean up the game.
Yeah, with Dread Wanderer entering the battlefield tapped, does not take long for Torrential Gearhulk to clean up here.
Another Sweltering Suns cleans the board. Another 5 points of damage in onto Sukenik. Luke will pass, leaving up both Disallow and Essence Scatter. And Sukenik's just going to draw a Swamp, so he'll bring back both Dread Wanderers. And another Glimmer from Luke. Draws them both, keeps them both on top. Everything's going to plan for the Control Mage here, and now he'll Magma Spray away a Dread Wanderer. 2 more hits needed to get this first game for Luke Fenney. Here's one of them. He now has Jonathan in range, down to 5. A pair of Fatal Pushes in Jonathan's hand. Just has to pass. Here's another Torrential Gearhulk from Fenney, and that will be game 1 to Luke Fenney and Blue-Red Control.
And Sukenik, he navigated that in a pretty solid way. Though the Blue-Red Control deck out of Fenney, he just has so many tools that are so powerful. Drawing multiple Magma Sprays, that's just super good in this matchup. He had the counter spell for Liliana's Mastery. If Sukenik can't resolve that spell, it's really difficult to actually do enough damage to close a game. You see Fenney ended the game at 8, which is actually a pretty comfortable life total against a deck like Zombies.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that gave him pause were those 2 copies of Dread Wanderer. Luke was able to cleanly answer all of Jonathan's other cards. And so, yeah, he had to take about 6 hits off them, but eventually the extra time he got, he got the Glimmer of Genius that started rolling. They hit a Gearhulk. He was able to convert.
Yep.
So we'll look at the sideboards then for the players. Jonathan's going to, I would think, try to find whatever threats he can that are hard to answer cleanly.
Yeah, so we go to the sideboard. There's 4 Scrap Heap Scroungers, 2 Liliana the Last Hope, 2 Grasp of Darkness, 2 Fleetwheel Cruiser, 2 Ether Sphere Harvester, a Murder, a Fatal Push, and a Sky Sovereign console flagship. So Sukenik's going to be looking at these sticky creatures, those Scrap Heap Scroungers. You more heavily tax Fenney's Magma Sprays, the more creatures that demand to be exiled. So that one's quite powerful. Even though Liliana the Last Hope isn't going to kill anything out of Fenney's deck, the ability to either -2 to get a creature back, or just a plus until you get to 7 and make the emblem, that'll win the game on its own. You do have to worry about getting disallowed.
Okay.
But the Liliana is still a powerful thing to do. Even if you just -2 it a couple times, that's good value. It's a reasonable argument for the vehicles over some of your non-sticky creatures because you do know your opponent's playing Sweltering Suns, so those ones seem fine as well.
All right, now on Luke's side, I already like a lot of what's going on here. Be hesitant about changing too many things. He has 4 copies of Thing in the Ice, 2 Dispel, 2 Dragon Master Outcast, a Negate, and Essence Scatter. That would bring his numbers, I guess, that is his 4th Negate and 4th Essence Scatter. A copy of Commit to Memory, a Confiscation Coup, a 3rd Sweltering Suns, a Chandra Flamecaller, and then a copy of By Force.
So the one that's for sure coming in is that Sweltering Suns. That just has a lot of really good spots in this matchup.
The 2 of them looked great game 1.
Right. I imagine you'll see some number of Thing in the Ice in game 2 and or game 3. The thing is, you can expect that Sukenik's going to go lighter on Fatal Push unless he explicitly expects Thing in the Ice. This is not new technology. A lot of your Blue-Red Control players will have it. So you're kind of asking yourself whether the opponent has the creature, has the answer to the creature, but Thing in the Ice can really be a huge tempo swing for the Blue-Red Control deck.
Now, how do you feel about a card like Dragon Master Outcast? It's not a removal spell, but at the same time, Jonathan is likely to have no Fatal Pushes after sideboard.
If it was large enough on its own to trade with the creatures on the other side of the battlefield in a meaningful way, I'd be more into it. Technically, this is a 6-mana spell that takes a turn to make a reasonable blocker. I don't think this is the matchup for Outcast.
Second game, Jonathan will be on the play. Now remember, if Luke wins this next game, that will lock him for the top 8. A lot on the line here at the Invitational. Foremost, one thing I know that a lot of the players are excited about is the winner of the Invitational gets their own likeness immortalized on a token of their choice. Most recently, that was Jacob Baugh winning the Season 3 Invitational with Aetherworks Marvel last season. Got himself on the energy counter, one he needed a lot during that tournament.
Yeah.
This one having been given away all during Season 1. Right now, you still have an opportunity. This was the last open it was given at, but until you can still get it if you missed out on Season 1. It ships with any order from the StarCityGames.com store of at least $5. The window on this one's going to close soon, though. In 2 weeks at the Cincinnati Open, we will be already debuting the winner's token from this event.
Yeah, really excited to find out who wins, what token they make. Of course, you've seen the Jacob Baugh token featured in our intro all weekend, our new intro. It's really cool stuff.
You know, this is one of the things that, sure, I mean, there's a lot of prizes to the Invitational, but this is one of the biggest prizes for a lot of the players. I think the trick is to choose, what token you pick. You want to pick something that sees some use, you know. For Jacob Baugh and Max McVitie, both think hitting it out of the park on their choices.
They're great as far as the immediate future of Standard. We've seen a lot of Tom Ross infect counters throughout time. The Caleb Shear Storm counter, that one comes out now and again.
I don't think we see the Tom Ross Vampire much anymore.
No.
The infect counter was a good call.
Right.
The other one from last year, Leon Lonergan's Elf Warrior token. We see it from time to time.
There's some Dwinen's Elite. That, of course, being the reason he picked the card that is a 4 of in his Invitational winning Elves deck in Modern.
Have you gotten a token? Not. You'd be Young Pyromancer, I'd assume. Because I know you're such a fan.
So I've started playing 4 copies of Pyromancer in Legacy again. I played it in Modern while Treasure Cruise was legal.
That makes sense.
Had it in my deck the first tournament I played with Tassiger when Tassiger came out. Since I started casting Colligan's Command in Modern, Young Pyromancer has been untenably bad, and Kevin Jones is going to lie to you and tell you I'm wrong. Don't let him trick you. He's a bad person.
Looks like Luke Fenney on a mulligan to 6 here for the second game. Young Pyromancer always feels like its playability, it has to do with the supporting cast.
It used to be your only out to ever compete with the Lingering Souls deck, and you still probably just lost to Abzan. It's just historically been the worst matchup for these modern Delver decks, except when Treasure Cruise was legal and you had no bad matchups. I would like to go back to that Modern, to be entirely honest.
All right, Sukenik starting off turn 1 Cryptbreaker. Fenney kept keeping his 6 and scrying to the top. He's going to sliding the Cryptbreaker over, but no Magma Spray here just yet.
In fact, basic Island to lead off. Sukenik's not terribly worried about that.
Looks like Feeney's cycling Sensor off the island. Does he have another land? It's going to be the next question.
Looks like there's an Ether Hub.
That's
okay.
That's okay. And Ether Hub will be the play. So we'll have red mana once. And Thing in the Ice will be the play from Luke Fenney. This one out of the sideboard.
And that's the test. We'll find out if Sukenik has Fatal Pushes in the deck post-sideboard.
Now Sukenik will make a creature off to Cryptbreaker. So Thing in the Ice gives another sweeper to the blue-red control deck. The 0/4 Defender. Every time Luke casts an instant or sorcery spell, which is most of his deck, he'll remove an ice counter. When the last ice counter is removed, it transforms into a 7/8 and bounces. Returns all non-horror creatures to their opponent's hand, to their owner's hand.
There is a good chance that at least some number, maybe even all of the Dark Salvations are still in Sukenik's deck, just because that sometimes is worth 2 zombies for 1 card. And that's a pretty good answer to Thing in the Ice. You could even cast it for 0 on the following turn and kill it.
Luke cycling Sensor, trying to hit that land. hits another thing in the ice. This is a dangerous spot for him. So Sukenik made a zombie with Crypt Breaker main phase, then played another Crypt Breaker so that he could start a card advantage engine going, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. Taps the 3 zombies to draw a card and lose a life. And Fenney trying mightily to hit his land drop, can't do it. 4th land from Sukenik. We see out of the sideboard, actually, the card Fleet Wheel Cruiser. And that's going to come into play. The rare here from Kaladesh, the 5/3 trample vehicle. The turn you play it, it has haste and cruise itself.
And the way that the game was shaping up, Sukenik was playing a bit into untapped red source from Luke and Sweltering Suns. The vehicle itself is a bit insulated against that.
I like how Sukenik turned here. So he swung the whole team. Now he had the option to just swing the cruiser and to draw another card. No interest in that on Jonathan's side.
He really wants to close this deck before Fenney starts hitting these land drops.
Well, what Fleet Wheel Cruiser actually does for Jonathan, as you see now, here's the Sweltering Suns, is that it plays, I was going to say it plays well around a sweeper, and we'll see that just now. Liliana's Mastery, the turn 5 play from Jonathan. A zombie will hop in the car and drive it over for 5 more damage.
Zombies aren't good drivers, I wouldn't think.
I don't know about the flavor on this one. How about the zombies pushing the car? I think that's going to be my flavor ruling on it.
Okay. Getting a car pushed into you, I could see that being a problem.
Sometimes in some horror tropes, zombies can run unnaturally fast. So if this is one of those zombies, you know, he just speeds up, he's pushing the car, and that's why it's going to trample on through.
Man, I hate that. I'm a slow zombie guy. I think
like just lots of them?
Fast zombies are dumb. You can quote me on that.
They're scary.
Well, yeah, everything in a horror movie is scary. It's not a criteria that's meaningful.
They should be slow. If their body's decaying, I think it would make sense they can't run very fast.
Exactly.
But 4th land here from Luke Fenney. Double blue, single red. Remember, he has no energy right now for that Aether Hub. So the colors you see are what he's working with. 3 counters on Thing in the Ice. If Luke can get the Thing in the Ice to transform very quickly here, he might be able to win this game.
But he needs to have that happen. With just 4 mana available, 2 blue, a colorless, and a red, he can't cast 3 spells on this turn.
All right, zombie in the car. It'll swing over for 5. Thing in the Ice blocks the other one. Luke down to 1 life point.
And how about an unbeatable land for Sukenik?
Westvale Abbey, a 1-of in Jonathan's deck. With Luke at 1, this card is incredibly good.
I actually don't think that Fenney can realistically come back from that. Sukenik already has enough mana to start activating.
Yeah, even your opponent on every end step will make a lethal attacker.
This card is a problem when you're at 10.
Standard's great. Blue-red's great. Ooh, they played a land. I don't know. Luke, to survive the attack of Westvale Abbey, will have to be able to trigger Thing in the Ice at instant speed on his own turn. Seven cards in hand. I don't believe he has any lands.
Has access to a hieroglyphic illumination and a commit to memory, but that's 1 spell and he's a land.
Yeah, I mean, he could illumination. Here's what he's doing. He's trying to illuminate into, say, land magma spray. There's the mountain. Land. Is that the spray?
It might have been Sweltering Suns. It was a red card.
If it's magma spray, he's still in. Or if spray was already in his hand.
That might be the case.
Way to play to his outs, and he's going to hit.
And then he's going to need to continue to have answers to 1/1 token for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we're not done yet. Jonathan, 3 lethal attackers. He's got to decide if he wants to have the Fleet Wheel Cruiser bounced or not.
Yeah, when you have the 3 lethal attackers anyway, it doesn't really make sense to crew.
Well, kind of. You might want the Fleet Wheel Cruiser to get bounced.
Suppose you don't have any gas to clear outside making a land drops. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you can activate Abbey and cast Cruiser in the same turn.
Yeah, I mean, you do run the risk then of Luke countering it.
Right.
But if you have the creatures to crew Fleet Wheel Cruiser, you're probably never crewing it again. You know, you're just gonna hit him with the 1/1s instead, and Jonathan will make that play. So here's the swing. And yeah, here's going to be the Magma Spray from Luke. Shoots something, doesn't really matter. Thing in the Ice transforms to Awoken Horror. All the creatures run back to Jonathan's hand. 7th land says go. His hand is Swamp Fleetwheel Cruiser. Luke could actually win from here.
Yeah, what we're going to need to do is find an answer to at least the second Westphal Abbey token every time. You know, the first one, if it's just a 1, you get in front of the Awoken Horror. I guess you need something for the Fleetwheel Cruiser even then. He's going to need to continue to have interaction.
So he drew Disallow, which counters Westvale Abbey. I know that's gross.
That happens.
Thing in the Ice, that could work. He's got an energy, so he has double blue. Now, and I believe Essence Scatter does work on vehicles.
I think I spy his one-of sideboard Chandra Flamecaller in hand. So when it comes time to actually close the game, that's going to be real nice.
Yeah, plays a Thing in the Ice. Okay, no, you have to negate a vehicle. You can't Essence Scatter it. So that's not. So that's why he has to hold up the Disallow.
Yeah. Fortunately, Glimmer of Genius on an earlier turn, replenishing that Ether Hub energy, so he was leaving up Disallow.
Another Magma Spray picked up for Luke. He's doing it.
Yeah,
he's doing
that's
it.
That's good. He has another answer for that 1/1 token.
Another counter off the Thing in the Ice. And you're right, there's a line here. 2 Awoken Horrors. That's a 7/8. 7/8, 7/8 Chandra Flamecaller is 20. So he can just, you mentioned lethal it all in one turn.
Yep. And every time Sukenik activates Westphal Abbey, he is losing life. There's a little bit of drainage happening there.
Yeah, with 2 Awoken Horrors, that could matter. And look at Feeney's hand. Essence Scatter, negate, disallow. Looks like commit to memory. And look at this, he's going to swing an Awoken Horror. A hugely aggressive play from Luke.
Yeah, well, he has the 0-4. He has a Wandering Fumarole.
I like it. He's going for a win on the next turn. Go back to Sukenik, draws Relentless Dead.
Can cast that and activate the Abbey on this turn.
Also has Fleetwheel Cruiser. But Luke knows about that one.
It might just be time to play Cruiser and shove.
Yeah, I think that's where Sukenik's going. Here's the 5/3. This should get a counter spell out of Luke's hand.
I've got to do something about this.
And then looks like it's do it. Disallow will counter and remove a count. Bring the Thing in the Ice down to 3. A swing with both 1/1s from Luke. Magma Spray plus a block should cover it. Here's Magma Spray. Thing in the Ice down to 2. Here's a block. No damage yet. Here's Relentless Dead from Jonathan. Essence Scatter, Thing in the Ice to 1. This Chandra should win it.
Chandra, fire up Fumarole. Either of those things.
And Luke Feeney has done it. He's come back. He's gone down to 1 and mounted a full comeback, and this should lead him into the top 8. Chandra Flamecaller. Here's the play. +1, make a pair of 3/1s. This is a swing for 13. Jonathan's just at 9. Congratulations to Luke Feeney. At 12-3-1, he makes it to the elimination rounds on Sunday. His first invitational top 8.
Major congratulations. Rough start there in game 2. He stumbled on lands and colored mana really in the early game.
Yeah.
Timely basic mountain off the top, allowing him to cast Sweltering Suns. From there, he hit the relevant land drops. He had all the interaction he needed to stop Sukenik in his tracks. On the other side, huge condolences to Jonathan Sukenik. He was our player that started off in 8-0,